You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, it is Saturday the 3rd of August 2024. You're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. I'm once again walking around in Singapore. We actually fly home this afternoon, so this is my sort of last morning here. I might get some writing done later, but to be honest, I'm not. I'm mainly going to concentrate on being ready to do the rather long flight back. It could be up to 14 hours. If the weather's pushing us the right way, it can sometimes knock almost an hour off that. But what I thought I'd quickly talk about today then is yesterday the new UK official chart came out, and once again I've compiled a top 40 based on British artists, and once again it's a fairly low representation, although it is more than last time. So in the top 40 there are now 14 tracks that are British or have a British artist named as a contributor or as an artist on, one of the title artists on the track. So that's 14, so that's about a third. It's just under a third. Let me do the maths. No, it's just under a third. So 33%, which is slightly better than last week. But it's still interesting. I looked at it, and if you look at the top 40, there are only 5 new entries. Sorry, there are only 2 new entries by British artists, and all the other new entries by British artists, of which there are only another 4 or 5, are much further down the chart, which again seems such a shame. So I'm calling for a Britpop Revolution. I think we should all start listening to, I'm not saying we shouldn't listen to artists from other countries, I'm not saying that at all, although I'm sure if somebody reads this they'll accuse me of that at some point. But I just feel we've got a lot of amazing artists, recording artists in this country, and nobody's listening to them. And we should be, at the very least. As I've said before, my definition of British is actually the British Isles. So it's 5 countries. It's England, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Is kind of any artists that are from those countries are ones that I'm including. But so the number 1 track, which actually has gone up in the real chart as well, is still a track called Stargazing by Miles Smith. Now, I have actually put a Spotify playlist together of the top 40 British tracks. Unfortunately, thanks to, again, there only being 35 British acts in the top 100, I've had to just use the top 5 that dropped out last week, which unfortunately still includes 3 football songs. So 38, 39, 40 are still Badil School in the Lightning Seeds with 3 Lions, Fat Les with Vindaloo, and New Order with World in Motion. But hopefully there'll be enough new entries next week to push them out so they won't be in it anymore. I've created a Spotify playlist. It is called, hang on, let me just open Spotify, try and do 8 things at once here while standing outside with a phone and recording into my watch. So the playlist is called British Artists Top 40 (1st of August 2024. If you go to my website, which is detailed somewhere on this podcast feed, you will see the chart actually printed on my website and a link to it. So you can actually listen to it if you want to. And what I've done is I've put it all over my social. I don't know why I'm so passionate about this all of a sudden, but I've put it all over all of my social media. So both my writing social media and my personal social media, because obviously Richard A. Boxall is a pen name, so I've put it on over all of that social media, and I've actually added in the artists that are in the top, what I determine to be the top 5, which is, let me get my hands on it, Miles Smith, Bless, Charlie XCX, who's actually got 2 entries in the top 5, and Jade. I thoroughly recommend it. I mean, it's still got a lot of old tracks in there, stuff that's entered the charts because it's presumably been used in a film or something. So you've got Small Town Boy by Bronski Beat. You've still got a couple of Fleetwood Mac's tracks in there. You've still got Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, Viva La Vida by Coldplay, and more recently there's As It Was by Harry Styles, plus the 2 awful football songs and the one by New Order. So yeah, so I actively encourage everybody to go to that playlist and listen to it and start enjoying some homegrown British music. Of course, if you're not from the UK, then this means very little to you. The reason I'm so passionate about it is because in the 90s, I think I might have mentioned this before, I'm not sure. In the 90s, our main radio station, BBC Radio 1, altered the dynamic of its playlists so that it would prioritise British artists. And as I said, I think they set a target of number of British artists in the playlist or something like that. But suddenly, loads of British bands were getting played a lot more. And I'd love us to do something like that again, but I just don't know that the BBC Radio 1 has the influence that it used to have, because of course everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people now listen to music on streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. But it would be wonderful, it would be. I mean, we've only got a couple of really big British artists out there that I can see. Obviously Ed Sheeran isn't my favourite, but he hasn't got anything in the charts at the moment either. Dua Lipa's probably the biggest name. Her and Ed Sheeran are probably the biggest names on the international stage that count as British. So yeah, so that's it. Flying back to the UK later today, so I will do a podcast tomorrow from home. I probably won't have done any writing by then, but I'm also going to attempt to record an emergency podcast before I leave Singapore, so that if I really am too tired to do anything tomorrow, I can just drop that so there is a podcast still. It'll probably be just me sticking another of my old songs out there. Alright, thank you for listening, take care, bye bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.